What's up everyone, it's your girl Brainy Shanae, and today I'm going to be doing an unhaul. It's about that time where I have books where I know I'm probably not going to reread, and just I have books that are just taking up space. So let's go ahead and get started with this unhaul. So this first book, I actually really enjoyed it. It's time for it to have a new home, and that is Sunny Song Will Never Be Famous. This is by Suzanne Park. Like I said, there was nothing wrong with this book whatsoever. It's time for it to have a new home and be on somebody else's shelves. So I'm going to be unhauling this book. The next book, which I'm sure everybody's going to be probably surprised, but I enjoyed this book. I'm starting to run out of space, y'all, and so I gotta make room for other books that I love and I know that I'm going to reread. Like, I love this author. I'm going to keep reading her books, and maybe in the future when we have a bigger spot where I have literally a whole library, a wall filled with books, I probably will end up getting this book again. But for now, it's just time to say goodbye, and it's going to be Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Like I said, I enjoyed this book. I loved it. It's that time. And so I have to say goodbye. And when I'm saying goodbye to not only Mexican Gothic, I'm saying goodbye to Gods of Jade and Shadow by her as well. This was the first book that I have read by her, and I loved it and enjoyed it as far as the gods and everything like that. So I highly recommend you pick this book up if you haven't done so. Like I said, I loved it. I love the folklore. I love the Mexican folklore. It's amazing. It's time for it to have a new home. And then also by Silvia Moreno Garcia is going to be Velvet Was the Night. I didn't really like this one. I didn't really care much for this one, but who knows? Like I said, I'm still gonna be reading books by her. I still love her as an author and a writer. It's that time, and for this one, I really just didn't really care for it. So I'm also getting rid of this one. The next book I had gotten, but I really don't need because I do this with my kids all the time, and that is Unplug and Play. It's the ultimate illustrated guide to roughhousing with your kids, which my husband and we do that a lot. So we definitely do not need a guide. I feel like if you don't interact with your kids and don't play with them or anything like that, this book is for you. So I don't need it. The next book, which I'm going to be replacing with the US edition so it matches my other edition. I had initially got this because the printing was delayed for the US edition for this. So now I'm getting the US edition, and she's also going to be coming to Columbus on the 5th, so hopefully she can sign my books for me. And this is The Viscount Who Loved Me. This is by Julia Quinn. This is the UK edition. I had gotten this because I really wanted to read it, especially since the new season of Bridgerton came out, the second season. And I just couldn't wait for the US edition because it said it was going to be a few more months, and I just couldn't do it. So I went on Book Depository and ordered this one. But now that they have the US editions in stock, I do have the US edition. I was like, I don't need 2 editions. So I'm going to be unhauling this book. And I'm really excited to meet Julia Quinn, and I really hope that she will be signing some books. And then the next book, which I loved last year, and I enjoyed this so much, and I don't want to say goodbye to it, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about it, but it's going to be Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. I did a whole book review about this book, so if you definitely want to know more, definitely check out my review. I'll leave it up above. But this book was really good. It had me in tears. I'm unhauling it not because I didn't like it, because I loved it. I'm unhauling it because it's time for it to go to a new home, and I don't have space. So it's just really sad. I'm on the fence. Who knows, I might change my mind and keep it. But yeah, I'm saying goodbye to Take My Hand. And the next book, which I haven't read, I honestly don't really care for it. I don't plan on reading it anytime soon, so I figure it will go to someone, a new home, to somebody that will read it, and that is Year of the Reaper. It says The Past Never Forgets, and this is by Makia Lucier. I think I got this in a box either Fairly or Lumicrate last year, and I just wasn't, I wasn't interested. I'm not saying that it's a bad book, it's not for me. So I did have it on Pango and for a while, and no one seems to want it. So it's going to go to a new home where I just go ahead and donate it. So hopefully somebody will read it and enjoy it. The next book that I am going to say goodbye to, and I actually was able to listen to this book on audio, and I don't really necessarily need this book on my shelves, but it was still a great book, and that is The Attic Child. This is by Lola J. This book came out last year, and I absolutely loved it. It's just I don't need it on my shelves, so that's why I'm unhauling this one. Next book, which, like, I love this book too, but I gotta say goodbye to it. I need some space, and that is Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett. I know, like, this book is really good. I know a lot of people have recommended it, and I'm recommending it myself to you all because it's good, and it's a nice mystery as well. So definitely, if you haven't picked this book up, definitely do so. But for me, I have to say goodbye because I need some space, y'all. I need some space. Next one that I read last year, which I also did a book review for, and I really enjoyed every single part of this book, and I'll leave my book review up above if you want to give it a go, and that is Kai, and this is by Vaishnavi Patel. Really enjoyed this book, loved the aspect of it, especially when it comes to the women in this book in general. It was really good. I have nothing else to say. If you want to see the book review, like I said, I'll leave it up above and you can check it out for yourself. But it's time for me to say goodbye and for it to have a new home. The next book, which I didn't even read because I'm just not interested. I've heard good things about it, but I'm just not interested in reading it. And so I was like, I might as well give it to somebody who will appreciate it and love it. I believe this is the first book in a trilogy or series. I'm not sure. And that is The Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. It says her life is in his hands. His heart is in hers. 100 days to choose who lives. So, like I said, I'm not necessarily interested in reading it, but I had a feeling like once it finds a new home, somebody will love it and enjoy it, and will read the second book, which is Vicious Spirits, which is right here. But yeah, it's just, I'm not going to read it, so I felt like there's no point of having it on my shelves, so gotta say goodbye to that one. This next one I read last year as well, and Daniel Black, his writing is so good. I felt every single word that was written on these pages. Just hearing it from, this is pretty much a letter from a father to a son, explaining himself of why he treated his son this way, why he acted the way he did, and talks about his past and how he grew up, and how his family was, and it was a lot to take in, but it was such a great book to read. And it, like, even right here on the cover, like this little cover, it says, a black father makes amends with his gay son through letters written on his deathbed in this wise and penetrating novel of empathy and forgiveness. And I love this book. I really don't want to say goodbye to it, but I probably will end up getting another copy of it eventually once I have more space. But this was such a good book. I highly recommend that any of you, if you're interested, definitely read it. This is a book that is heartfelt. There's going to be times where you have to put the book down because you feel it, you just, in the words, and even, like, I also listen to it on audio as well, and you just feel like, I don't know what it is about narrators, but they find a way when it comes to certain moments in a book where that you can feel their emotions. And I was definitely emotional when I read this. So if you haven't picked this book up, I suggest you do so. But it's Don't Cry for Me, and this is by Daniel Black. I don't want to say goodbye to it, but I don't have much room, and it's just time for it to have a new home and for somebody else to appreciate this story, because I know I did. Next book, which I really love. This is called Shallow Water. This is about Yemaya the Orisha, and I absolutely enjoyed it. This is a love letter to Yemaya by Anita Kopes, and like I said, I enjoyed it. I loved it. It's even on the back, it says, in the stirring and lyrical debut novel, the Yoruba deity of the sea, Yemaya, is brought to vivid life as she discovers the power of Black resilience, love, and feminine strength in antebellum America. And I read this in a day because it's not really that long, but it's very insightful. The research definitely was done. I will say I have no complaints about it whatsoever. You know, the Breakfast Club is not a thing, you know, it's not a thing anymore, but when it was on, they had this book in the background behind their guests that, you know, came in to speak with them, even behind Charlemagne too. So I know Charlemagne the God read it, and I loved it too. So if you haven't read Shallow Waters, I suggest you do so, especially when it comes to talks about Yemaya or Yemayo the Orisha. So it's highly researched, so I think this is a good book and you should give it a try. The next book, which I didn't read, and I probably won't, like, I loved Ariadne by this author, but I feel like I have read something similar to this particularly, and I know there's going to be other books that's going to be coming out this year regarding Greek mythology, and that is Electra by Jennifer Saint. Like I said, I love Ariadne. I did a book review for it when it came out, which I'll leave up above, and I was getting this book because I was like, I really loved Ariadne. Let me read Electra. I never got to it, so, and it's been on my shelves for a minute, so there's no point in me keeping it. So that's why I'm unhauling this one. These next three books, they are very popular, very, very popular when I started BookTube, and pretty much they fell off, which I understand. So the first book that I'm getting rid of in this series is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. This is by Mackenzie Lee. The second book is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, which is this one. And then the third one I didn't even read. And I'm thinking to myself, why did I even get this book if I wasn't going to read it? And I was just really adamant on finishing the series, but I don't think I want to anymore. This is about the Montague siblings and stuff, and I just don't feel, I just not in the mood for it. And that is The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks. So like I said, when I first started BookTube, these books, especially the first two books, they were very, very popular. And it's just, I read both of them and I loved them, but you know, then again, I don't need them like that, and I'm just not in the mood for the third book. So I'm giving these away to somebody who will enjoy them and love them and cherish them. So I'm saying goodbye to those three. And then I'm getting rid of this one, and it's funny. So I'm getting rid of the Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And you're all probably all wondering, like, why am I getting rid of this? And if y'all like watch me all the time, y'all know that I really just got this book because I want to read it, because the second book comes out in a couple days or so. And the thing is, the reason why I'm saying goodbye to this is because I was able to order these special editions for not only the first book, but for the second book. And so I'm thinking to myself, I don't need 2 editions of the first book. I don't. There's no point. So that's why I'm saying goodbye to this. I'm not saying goodbye because it was a terrible book or I just don't want to read it. It's because I have some special editions coming my way. So that's why I'm saying goodbye to the paperback edition. So, but I will be reading this for the first and second book this year. So no doubt about it. Next book, which I'm just not going to ever read. I don't agree with certain things that are in this book. It's definitely just not, it's not it for me. So I'm not even going to try to read it or anything. I put it on Pango to see if somebody wanted it. They didn't. So I'm going to just give it away. And so that is We All Fall Down. This is by Rose Zabo. And you can look at the reviews if you want on Goodreads or anywhere on BookTube. I'm just not gonna read it. I just can't do it. So that's why I'm saying goodbye to it. Like, it's a beautiful edition, don't get me wrong, but I'm not here for it. So I'm gonna be giving this to whoever wants it. And then I have 2 more books, and I loved both of them, and it's like both of them are really hard hitting. And there's times where you have to put the books down because that's how hard it is, but it's realistic. So the first one I'm getting rid of, the other one I'm getting rid of, the Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Loved it. I don't have room for it on my shelves, and this is just really good. If you haven't read this book, I suggest you do so. It's really good, and as you can see, it won an award on Book of the Month. So yeah, it was Book of the Year of 2020. So it's definitely a good book. If you haven't read it, go ahead and do so. You don't want to miss out. And then the last book that I'm going to be unhauling, which I love her work. I love her writing style. This book hit home for me when I was dealing, especially when I dealt with depression and seeing people that I love pretty much destroying themselves and hurting themselves and not really realizing it. And at the time I'm young too, so there's like nothing I can do. I'm helpless. I can't do much, you know. And so that the book that I'm talking about is Transcendent Kingdom. This is by Gassi, and yeah, this book was really good. It is definitely a hard book to read at times, so you will have to put the book down, but then again, it's realistic. It's something that happens a lot, especially in the US. So if you haven't read this book, I highly suggest you do so. But it, like I said, this is Transcendent Kingdom. If you haven't read it, go ahead and do so, but just be prepared for stuff. There's a lot of like content warnings in it, so just be prepared. But those are all the books that I plan on unhauling, and hence I say plan because there's some books I'm looking at right now and I really don't want to let go of, but I know I need to make some decisions. But yeah, those are all the books that I'm unhauling. I really don't like doing a lot of unhauls. I like to keep my library growing, but since I have limited space, I have to make these decisions, these hard decisions. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you all for watching, and I hope everyone is staying healthy and staying safe. See ya!